What I resent is the elevation of the musical into some sort of holy grail of art, the thing to which everyone has to aspire, and the idea that if you can sell millions of tickets, then you've achieved the ultimate goal. There was a story I remember Peter Hall told me about him sitting next to Mrs. Thatcher at some public dinner, and she turned to him and said, "Why can't you be more like Andrew Lloyd-Webber?" She somehow expected the director of the National Theatre to operate on the same scale and with the same sort of commercial pizzazz as the creative musicals.
I don't know what Mrs. Thatcher's musical tastes are. When she's asked about her favourite records or so forth, she picks, the Beverly Sisters singing "How Much Is That Doggy in the Window?" That was her favourite record, apparently. So I don't know what she thinks of Andrew Lloyd-Webber musically, but I think she respects the size of the of what he's done. I don't think it's any coincidence that Andrew wrote the theme tune for the 1987 election.
And now, music that Andrew Lloyd-Webber wrote for the election campaign. It's rather noisy. It's called by the members of the party, "It's Great to Be Great."
The Thatcher government meant that it was possible to make this place a base. I wouldn't say that necessarily we did more than that, and that I suspect that Cameron and I would probably have surfaced in New York or somewhere like that, although we both love this place very much.
But I also think that it actually, the philosophy allowed our investors to put money into the shows, which I think would have been much more difficult if tax rates had been absolutely penal.
She was like a sort of Lloyd-Webber heroine from the Evita phase. I think Margarita, as as Private Eye called her in one sketch, 10 years in the West End.
Don't cry for me, Argentina. The truth is, I never left you all through my wild days. My mad existence, I kept my promise.
Just as Thatcherism never has really taken root, I don't think we've really drawn the conclusions from what Cameron Mackintosh and Andrew Lloyd-Webber did. It's not commercial art. This is actually the stuff that Cameron Mackintosh and Andrew Lloyd-Webber like. And I think it was also seen elsewhere in the 1980s. If you look at the sort of popular classical thing with Nigel Kennedy's Four Seasons getting into the charts, I think that had less to do with Nigel Kennedy wearing a Colonel Gaddafi pillbox hat and more to do with the fact that, Vivaldi, the Four Seasons, is a good sort of coffee table classic. And similarly, with the Pavarotti and the Park thing, this idea that a resurgence, if you like, of solid core middle brow culture.
We could see that there was a yearning for it, and it's now grown. I mean, so that now Nessun Dorma can hit the top of the charts. So everything goes hand in gloves. It isn't suddenly that you go, eureka, I've found the magic recipe. The fact is that it's in the air, and anyone that's interested in actually breaking new barriers can sense it.
The crisp, unyielding bacon motif is juxtaposed with, yet housed within, the soft, pliable bread medium to create a collision of textures that's both graphic and very tasty. Satisfy your hunger for real art at the V&A, South Kensington.
In the 80s, art was consumed by more people than ever before, but this new pressure to be popular caused problems. Using cafes to sell culture ruffled the feathers of the highbrow arts establishment, and the introduction of admission fees sparked off the anger of the general public. As museums struggled to pull in the crowds, glass cases and marble pedestals gave way to button pressing, laser lighting, animated gadgets. The result was an identity crisis, with museums unable to decide whether they were in the business of educating or entertaining. But at least Mrs. Thatcher knew what she wanted from them.
We have done a lot here. We've done it without spending money, because I've gone around the museums. So I've been lucky. We've had a lot lent to us.
Sounds like a housewife's dream to be able to go through these great places.
Oh, they won't let you have the best. They hide it when you go around. Oh, they won't let you have the best at all.
I remember when she came to the V&A once to choose some services of porcelain to have in number 10 Downing Street, and we put out one very, very nice service and one extremely ugly one, and with infallible bad taste she chose the ugly one.
Now we've lost the star's wife.
One of the things we have to do is to hook the people in. We have to put on something that will catch such a huge public attention that they want to come to the museum. The Rolling Stones is obviously part of that kind of tactic.
This is the Rolling Stones movie At the Max, which is the most commercial offering yet at Bradford's National Museum of Photography, Film and Television. When this offshoot of the Science Museum opened in 1983, its huge IMAX cinema was the star attraction. It's still unique in Britain and draws visitors to Bradford in their thousands. This thoroughly modern museum shows up just how archaic many others had become.
Many of the old museums, despite their alleged qualities and their worthy scholarship, did nothing to stimulate, did nothing to energize, certainly didn't challenge their visitors, and steered clear of being provocative.
If you went to a museum, the cafeteria was absolutely lousy and the shop was indifferent. So what I call all the support facilities were extremely poor. And there was quite a prevailing attitude is, we give you what we think is good for you, we're not really much interested in the front of house. Take it or leave it. Now, I think the Thatcherite revolution changed all that. The whole of culture was put right down in the marketplace along with everything else.
We're a bit ambivalent about logos because we recognise that we have a position of scholarly authority which we wish to nurture and protect, so that we still use the Royal Coat of Arms on our letterhead, but we were conscious that we had to speak to the public in a manner that was more relevant to them. So we need to market ourselves and do it quite positively, and the logo is part of that initiative. It's niche marketing, if you want to use the retail term.
Throughout the 1980s, I think all museums became, partly because they were under huge financial pressure, became sort of more and more hip, to the funky attractions of marketing. Of course, one of the astonishing things nowadays, you step inside a museum and you hear a lot of sort of semi-digested psychobabble about marketing. You hear that long before you hear the sort of mad German academics discussing their footnotes.
And then all this management speak, targeting and assessment and the cost centres and what a terrible curve everybody has to go on. And it was nothing, it was all that sort of thing. And one thought, well, okay, that's fine. I mean, what was I, an Elizabethan historian? But there I was, out doing all that. Well, that's fine, and that was good. I mean, upstairs they were practically still working on an abacus before, so all the new technology came into the institutions, and not before time, so it was a tremendously good shake-up.
To think, we're distant relatives. Just imagine, if you're going out with him, you could forget about a decent conversation.
In the 80s, the world of museums went mad. A new one opened every 2 weeks, covering everything from our great literary heritage to industrial scrap, from the Vikings to Dad's Army.